Hi, my name is Dawn Cavanaugh. I'm National Education Director for American Professional Quilting Systems. One of the questions I get asked a lot is how to turn a quilt once it's been loaded on the frame so that I can do the side borders. It's hard to do those as you go along since you can only see part of those side borders at once. The turning part is really quite simple, but there are a few little tricks that are going to help you along the way. So to get to that point, the first thing I'm going to do is unpin my quilt top from the quilt top roller. It's been pinned on there as I've been working. I'm also then going to take a scissors and trim away the excess batting and backing about an inch away from the edge of the quilt top. I don't normally do the binding for my customers, but I want to make sure that they have plenty of extra batting and backing past that quilt's raw edge so that the binding itself can be quite full and fluffy, which is the way quilt judges often expect it to be. So I'm going to reposition the camera, take those pins out, and then show you some extra little tips that are going to make turning the quilt very easy for you. One of the most important keys to successfully turning a quilt that you've mounted to your frame is how you handle the left and right sides as you go along. You'll notice here that I have used a very fine flower head pin on the edges of my quilt rather than machine basting. That allows me to take the quilt itself, move any fabric straight out from the body of the quilt, and using those pins help to make sure that this side border fabric stays aligned with the rest of the quilt. I happen to be left-handed, so my pins are opposite of most people. If you are right-handed, you'd want to position the pins so that the points of the pins travel around your quilt in a clockwise position. As a left-handed person, my pins are going in the opposite direction. They'll continue to travel around my quilt in a counterclockwise motion. Once again, if you're right-handed, put the pins in so that the points are pointing clockwise. That's important so that you can quickly remount the quilt once you've turned it. The pins that are in right now for me along the side, once I've turned this quilt 90 degrees clockwise, this pin is actually going to turn itself and be oriented so that I can grab it with my left hand, take it out of the quilt top and stick it back in line with the roller on the quilt frame itself. I'm actually going to do that for you here in a moment. Another key is the flower head pin. Make sure that you use one that is very soft and flexible, not something like a corsage or a T-pin. Let me show you why that's important. Even if you use something very sturdy to pin on a quilt to your particular canvas, such as a flower or corsage pin or even a T-headed pin, these fine flower head pins from Clover Manufacturing come in packages of 20. They are 55 millimeters in diameter and 50 millimeters in length, I believe, and they work very well because they will actually stay inside my quilt all along, and they'll bend around my canvas without tearing up the quilt, but most importantly, will straighten out again and not retain that bent motion. That's why, as you can see on the end of my quilt, I've got those pins all along the edge, and they're actually traveling up all the way and are wrapping around my roller as I go. Well, I'm going to take the pins out of the canvas holding it right now, the quilt top canvas, trim the backing, and we'll turn this quilt for you. I've trimmed the batting and backing away from the quilt edge. There's about 1 inch extra of batting and backing still attached to the quilt. Next, I'm going to remove the excess batting and the backing from the remaining 2 rollers. Then I'm going to turn the quilt 90 degrees clockwise. So this edge that you're looking at now, which was the bottom of the quilt, will end up on the left side once it's turned.